Hey everyone, welcome to the Otherz podcast. I am your host, Steve Penny. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Rafa. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I hear it's a little bit toasty over where you are at the moment.
Yeah, man. It's like devil's fart in here. Like, it's pretty hard. Man, I'm melting, but I'm surviving.
Good. We've had about a week's worth of rain non-stop, so the summer is yet to really get to us here in Finland.
Yeah, cool.
All right, we are going to do things a little bit differently this week, just to confuse people, and myself included. We're going to go through some news first, and then we will get into the main topic of the episode. But first, a little bit of housekeeping we need to go through.
Okay.
So some people may have noticed with the last episode, we actually put a video version out. So if you would like to see my round pasty face and Rafa's handsome face on video with us talking, you can now actually see that, and you can go to YouTube and to Spotify to view the video. That will mean as we go through the podcast itself, we will try and do more on-screen type stuff. So actually showing things to the camera. I'll be screen sharing sometimes and things like that. So if you're listening to the audio only version, I will continue to include chapters and then also chapter art of the stuff we're talking about as well. So hopefully you won't miss out. But if you feel that you are missing out on anything that we're talking about, then do head over to YouTube or to Spotify where you can check out the video versions. If you do go over there, please, I hate saying this, but make sure you like and share and subscribe and all that stuff, which I think we legally have to say now that we are officially technically YouTubers, I guess, aren't we?
Yeah.
If our videos on YouTube.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Now I have to pay attention to how I look on camera. Jesus.
I know people, if you've noticed, in the last episode I put out, we didn't intend to put it out on video, but I did it anyway. And I have a terrible habit of just kind of, when I'm thinking, looking off into space and moving around a lot, which I now need to try and control as well. I need to sit still, look at the camera and just, and pay attention. And also not wear terrible hoodies that I normally wear when we're recording as well. I need to actually wear something proper this time. So this time it's a Star Trek hoodie. And we'll see what comes in the following weeks.
Yeah, but don't worry, man, because I was talking with Juliana about this, and she was like, no, everything that you think people are noticing, is just in your head. So just be okay with it. Okay, thanks, my love.
Good. And luckily, I've also paid for the upgraded version of the platform that we use, which automatically renders the video and makes sure we have eye contact with the camera at all times. So even if you're not looking at the camera, the video should hopefully make it look like we are.
That's
the wonders
creepy,
of modern technology, yes. All right, so there's that. And then we are recording this on Wednesday, the 25th of June. As of Friday, I start my summer holidays for 5 weeks, and Rafa's away also in Brazil over the summer. So this will probably be the last episode until maybe August, when we're both back from our holidays. If anything major kind of happens in the meantime, we might be able to do something. Otherwise, don't expect an episode from us for a good few weeks.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, but for a good reason.
Exactly, yes. We're taking some time off work and enjoying ourselves. That's the housekeeping over with. And now we're going to start with the news, which we normally do last, but we're going to do first this time. So a few little bits and pieces here and there. Joopiter, which we talk about most weeks. Joopiter has a new collection with Jackson Wang on the website. You can go on there. I think there are 5 or 6 different things you can bid on, 3 of them being spending a day with Jackson Wang himself, and then some other clothing items. Now, I'm mentioning this just because, some people listening may be Jackson Wang fans, but they are doing some merch with this, and they have got a really, really nice BBC Team Wang hoodie. I don't know if you've seen this, Rafa. So here's where we delve into our new technology, and here's where I try and share the screen. So bear with me, and if you're watching the video, hopefully this works. Hopefully you can see this, Rafa. Okay,
yeah, I can see it.
Looks like it's working. So here we go. So here is the Jackson Wang experience on Joopiter. So you've got a few different experiences here, a day in the life of Jackson Wang where you can hang out with him, whether it's in the studio or preparing for a tour or something like that. This biker jacket which is really nice. You know, this is a signed
It is.
version from him and Pharrell. Obviously, this is just the plain version they've got here in the images, but I think if you go on Instagram, it shows the signed version. And then there's a signed version of, you know, this top here as well. But if we go down here, firstly, you can buy this BBC biker jacket for the bargain price of $400. It's not actual leather, it's fake leather, I believe. But then what I did notice was this diamond and dollar hoodie for €300. Now, I don't like zip ups, so I wish it wasn't a zip up, but this is really nice. You can't really see it on these images too much. Here we go. So you can kind of see the diamond and dollar pattern on the outside of it here, which is really nice. And then it's reversible. And I believe this says Team Wang or something, you know, going across it there. But a really nice hoodie.
Yeah, it is.
I'm quite tempted to grab one of these.
Yeah, true. But is it leather or fake leather or something? Because
I don't believe so. It does. It looks like it, doesn't it? It normally says here what material it is. It doesn't in this instance, so I'm guessing it's not leather or even fake. Here we go. Mainly polyester by the looks of it.
Okay. Yeah, because the way the diamonds and dollar signs are all over it, it looks like he's like engraved it, right?
All right, yeah, some technical issues there, but we are back. I don't know if what we were talking about will actually make it into the video, so we'll just recap the BBC Team Wang hoodie. Very, very nice. You like the look of it as well, Rafa?
Yeah, I like how the diamonds and dollar signs are. It looks like he's like graved on the hoodie. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a really nice piece of merch. So I recommend people check that out. Also, notably on the Joopiter website at the moment as well, kind of low key on the website, there is a Michael Jordan rookie card for sale, currently at the bargain price of $2 million.
Damn.
I think the estimate is like 1 to 3 million or something. And it's currently at 2 million. So the people out there from the sort of 80s and 90s and before, if you used to collect these trading cards and you've got a Michael Jordan rookie one somewhere in pristine condition, you could be sitting on a small fortune.
Yeah, man. Crazy.
I did also speak to somebody from Joopiter today as well, and coming in the near future, there's some more items and more collections that are going up in the near future. They've got some different curated collections and categories and stuff. So if you missed out on some items previously on the marketplace, like the Pharrell stuff, then keep checking the website because there will be more soon, hopefully. All right, some music. A little while back, and I don't think we talked about it, but there were some video clips circulating of Rick Ross in Paris filming with Pharrell, all kitted out in LV. That was for a track called For the Money. We now have a release date for that, the 27th of June. There is like a snippet of the video and the track on Instagram and Threads and other places. It didn't sound great, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, for me too. Especially because I didn't even care to check it out later. I was like, okay, let's see how it will be.
Yeah, I'll withhold judgment until the full track comes out. But from the snippet I heard, it wasn't great. But we've got a couple of days. I think it's Friday the 27th it'll be out. So let's see. And then in slightly bigger news, Star Trak is back. Star Trak has partnered up with Create Music, a California-based music company. I think on their website or their Instagram, it says they're rated as the fastest or largest growing company in California at the moment or something. And they're recently valued at $1 billion. So it's not completely clear what they're both going to be working on in terms of this kind of collaboration and this partnership. But Star Trak is formally back. So that's really good to see. And yeah, hopefully they're going to be up to some interesting stuff.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. Like, I mean, it's not going to be anything like the Star Trek that we all know, but it's going to be interesting to see the new ventures they are going to give us. Let's see.
Yeah, because Create Music kind of cover the sort of spectrum in the music industry. I think they own certain artists' catalogs. So I think they own like Dead Mouse's catalog, for example. They purchased that recently. They've got a number of artists, I think, signed to them as well. So I think the likes of like Kerry Hilson and some other people are signed to them. And then they do all the kind of distribution and analytics and marketing and stuff like that as well. Yeah, I don't know if Star Trak is going to be there as like a subsidiary type of label, maybe. It might have people signed to it. or whether it's going to be leveraging the back catalogue, perhaps reissuing stuff, redistributing stuff. We may see some new versions of old Star Trek records come out and things like that. Yeah, we'll have to see. But Rob Walker, who's one of the co-founders of Star Trek, is leading this and is the kind of main person. But from what I understand, Pharrell is still a kind of part owner in Star Trek, and I think his company still own like the naming rights to Star Trek. So it would have had to have been signed off by, I think, Pharrell and his team as well to some degree. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with and what they do.
Yeah. What about Other? That's still a label or something?
Yeah, it is. It's still out there and it's still managing, I think, all of or a lot of kind of Pharrell's projects in the background. I follow a few people from Other, and I see they're always working on lots of different things. So, they're very much involved in the new building and stuff in the regeneration in Virginia Beach that we talked about a couple of months back. I think
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
involved in that. They do a lot of the kind of pitching and the sort of trying to get sort of funding on behalf of Pharrell for his projects, for things like that. I think they work on the hotels that he's involved with and all those sorts of things. So they're definitely working in the background on all of these projects. But I don't know if there's any artists signed to I Am Other anymore per se, or whether they're acting as a label anymore, or whether they just act as more of a project management type company for the things that Pharrell's involved with.
Yeah. It's how it feels looking from here. Yeah.
Yeah, because we certainly haven't seen anything from them in a sort of musical capacity for quite a while, have we? But I think they deal
Yeah.
with like the recent collaborations we've seen Pharrell do in terms of like the Adidas and Louis Vuitton kind of short videos and things like that. I think they're involved in putting a lot of that stuff together as well.
Yeah, true.
And then speaking of Adidas and Louis Vuitton, this week is Paris Fashion Week. And yesterday on the Tuesday, we had the Louis Vuitton menswear show. Did you get to watch this at all?
Yeah, I took a look. Yeah, it was cool. No, it's because the thing that got me more excited was the track with Tyler
Okay,
and Dolce.
we'll get to that. Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right. So yeah, in terms of the show, I thought it was a really, really solid show, maybe even like his best to date. I think it was much more, in terms of the clothing, much more formal, much more subtle and mature in terms of the design sort of throughout. There was, of course, some crazy little bits and pieces in there as well. But generally speaking, I think as a collection, it seemed much more cohesive, I guess, than previous ones. Not that they weren't cohesive, but this one really sort of seemed to come together really, really well. I think there weren't as many pieces that personally appeal to me as there have been in previous collections. And I'm certainly not really a fan of the kind of nearly all brown color palette, which is obviously the big thing this year. But I think it was a very, very strong collection nonetheless. Any items of clothing that you saw that sort of stood out that you noticed?
yeah, there's a green jacket that, by the way, is crazy to be a collection for spring and summer. And you have this huge jacket, like winter jacket, but it's okay. It looks good. And I think on the hoodie, I think it had like some jewelry on
With all
it.
the jewelry and the crystals, and yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
if
that
you
that one stood out so much apart from the other pieces. Like it looks crazy and it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I follow a few of like the LV designers on Instagram, and I saw a few of them posting today like the making of that hoodie and how they originally designed it and stuff like that. It looks like an amazing process. So yeah, that one really stood out. I think that's kind of, you'll see that in a lot of images when you go on Instagram and you see like recaps of the show. I think the one look that kind of stands out to a lot of people that I've seen online is the guy with the kind of yellow windbreaker type jacket. That seemed very, very popular in terms of looks. And then from my
Yeah.
perspective, the jackets were like low key fire. There were some brilliant jackets in there, including like the brown LV monogram kind of puffer jacket. And then also there was like a metallic set that two different models wore the two different pieces. There was like the silvery metallic sort of baggy trousers. And then the
Yes.
model, I think two behind him, wore like the jacket that goes with it. I think maybe wearing them together was maybe a bit too much, but they look
Yeah.
like really, really cool pieces. Really nice.
Yeah, true. And one thing that they really, I don't know, stood out for me in this collection is like because of the brown pieces, every time that we saw some bright colors or some metallic colors, like it really stood out. So I think that's why, for me, those pieces are the best pieces. And also in social media, you can see that people were like talking about those pieces the most because it stood out so much. And the metallic trousers looks insane, man. Pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah,
They do look crazy. Again, I won't share my screen this time so I don't crash my computer like I did a moment ago. But again, I'll try and put an image in the chapter art and I'll try and overlay one in the video when I do the editing so people can see some of this stuff we're talking about if they haven't already watched the runway show.
yeah. And I really like the stage also. Like it looks simple, but the colorful snake in the middle of the board game type floor. It looks pretty cool, man.
Yeah, the whole snakes and ladder theme was really interesting. And again, I think on the Louis Vuitton pages, there's a sort of short making of. So it's an Indian artist, I believe, that Pharrell's collaborated with for this to like design it and do all the artwork. And it looked really cool. And again, to kind of tie into that, like they normally do, people that they invite to the show, they get like a little gift. And the gift was like a little keychain with a leather Louis Vuitton sort of wrap around it, and then 4 small kind of Louis Vuitton dice in there as well. So obviously to tie in with the whole board game type theme.
Yeah, true. But one thing that it kind of bothered me a little bit was all the logos and the LVN on the suits and on the shirts. Like, why they are doing that? Like, I don't know. In my perspective, it kind of made the pieces feel kind of cheap, you know? Because for example, there's a puff jacket, and I think maybe it's the one that you were talking about, the brown puff jacket like with the logo all over the jacket, but you also have a tag on it. It's like Louis Vuitton, and I was like, you already have the entire jacket full of logo. Like, why you put the
Sorry,
tag
a
on it?
whole monogram, yes.
Yeah, like, we already know it's Louis Vuitton, so calm down. You know, like it's like screaming all the time for you, like it's Louis Vuitton, Louis Vuitton, and I get it, but I don't think Louis Vuitton needs it. You know? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe the consumer needs it because he has to say like, "Oh, see, my shirt is from Louis Vuitton," but I don't know. It kind of bothered me a little bit. It looks good, but at the same time, it's like, why?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I noticed that as well on a lot of the kind of suit jackets and stuff. There were a lot more kind of formal wear and suits in this collection than I think we've seen previously, which all look, brilliant, lovely kind of tailored suits. But yes, they have across sort of the chest piece, the LVM sort of writing, not even in a logo, it's just a straight sort of font, isn't it?
Yeah,
So yeah, from a sort of branding perspective, you don't tend to find that on suits, even kind of the higher end suits. Yeah, if you buy I don't know, a Tom Ford suit or something, it doesn't say Tom Ford on it or TM or anything, generally speaking.
yeah,
So yeah, I get what you mean, but I
yeah,
think it's more, they're appealing, trying to appeal, I think, to a sort of younger demographic nowadays. I think younger people, especially in certain markets around the world, they kind of want that branding on there, even if it is a kind of formal wear piece or something you're going to wear to a more formal event. They still want that sort of branding to stand out. So I
yeah, of course.
guess it's catering to some of that.
Yeah, true. And also that it makes me think about I remember when people were I read a review talking about for the difference of Pharrell and Kanye and they role on Adidas and they say like uh, is more is like a branding person. Like Adidas were using Kanye, of course, like to sell sneakers and to sell clothes, but also he's such a powerhouse on fashion because he's going to bring a lot of attention to the brand. And Pharrell is mainly to sell product, and it makes me think about maybe is that why one of the reasons that Louis Vuitton bought Pharrell on their house, you know, like not just to for the branding because he's such a, of course, like he's such a creative uh, uh person when it comes to fashion, of course, like let's not forget about that. But is that also like is Pharrell like a power machine when it comes to selling clothes and selling garments and selling all these things?
I think, yes, I think that's the main part of his role at Louis Vuitton as a kind of creative director. It's not necessarily the creative part, it's to be able to sell the product to the masses once all the designers have, designed what they want or what he's kind of
Mm,
directed them to. And as you say, with Kanye, yeah, it's like, even when his first album came out, or was going to come out. There's those interviews, he's kind of done in the past where he talks about he had the whole marketing scheme and all the branding and everything already planned in his head. He knew every outfit he was going to wear to every interview and stuff like that. I think those, they are, Kanye and Pharrell are sort of both very, very different people in terms of that. And I think, Pharrell's job, or a large part of his job, is to sell the collection. It is to work with his team to put on these shows to make them look amazing and make them seem appealing. It's not, I don't think, necessarily to be that involved in the low level details of each and every design. Yeah, he probably signs them off, but he probably goes to his team of designers and says, this is the kind of concept and the kind of story we want to tell in this next collection. Here are the colors and sort of color schemes we want to work with. And they probably have big brainstorming sessions around different color palettes, trends, the types of cuts and things they're going to use in terms of the items. So obviously, as we always talk about, it's like, how are the trousers going to look? They're going to be flared, obviously. That's the route to go down. And he'll kind of give them all that information. Then the designers go off in their teams and they design. They come back.
Mm-hmm.
He likes it. It's his job to then sell it to the masses, basically.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And I think that's what a creative director at a fashion house does nowadays. I know,
true.
I know Pharrell isn't, he doesn't come necessarily from a design background or a formal design background, whereas a lot of other creative directors will, so they might be a bit more hands-on. But their job is essentially to kind of bring the collections together, put them on show, make them appealing, get people buying them.
Yeah, true. And this is one of the things that it kind of pisses me off when I see people making reviews about the Pharrell role on Louis Vuitton right now. Like, people always forget, like, he's a creative director. People, like, pay attention to his title, because people always say, like, Pharrell as a designer, man, it's not his role. So
Yeah,
pay attention.
I think he's ultimately responsible for it. And like I say, he probably has final sign off on every piece. But I very much imagine he trusts like the lead designers in each of the different teams to lead their teams accordingly and to kind of produce the right products and iterate them between them. But yeah, he's not a hands-on designer. He's not a formal fashion designer, is he? So yeah, it's not him necessarily creating those things.
Yeah. And since you're talking about the design team, one thing that I noticed that it was different this time, like, he didn't brought the team at the end of the runaway, and he didn't mention the team so often, because all the time, like the previous collection, like he always seemed talking about, like, oh, without my team I couldn't have done this, and repeatedly. And this time he was like just alone there, and it was like,
I think a lot of the team were actually sat on one of the sections.
oh, okay.
And I'm guessing because it's in a different location as well this time, maybe for like security reasons or for spacing issues and stuff like that, they couldn't bring everybody out at the end or anything.
Okay.
And especially because you've got, I know there's always high profile sort of celebrities and stuff there. But, you got Jay-Z and Beyonce sat front row. I'm sure their security team have something to say when they get told, and we're going to bring out 50 random designers, none of whom and they're going to walk past them. And, it could make things a bit awkward. So I guess, security and stuff like that comes into play as well. And then, like I say, it's in a different location to where they've previously done it.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably more just of a logistics thing than anything else.
Cool. That makes sense.
All right. Music. The soundtrack as a whole, really good. They always are, to be fair. At these LV shows that Pharrell's been involved with. But like you say, the one thing that stood out to me was that Doechii and Tyler, the created track. I originally thought, when it first came on, I couldn't really sort of hear who it was. And I thought it sounded a bit like MIA. And also with the beat as well. Then obviously I realised it was Doechii. And then I heard Tyler come on as well. Tyler kind of has one verse, I think it is, in the sort of second half of the track. But that sounded really good.
Yeah, true. And it sounds like it's produced by Pharrell, right?
I assume it is, the fact it was in the show. Yeah, normally everything that they put in the shows produced by him or co-produced by him in some way.
Yeah. I was really surprised because I mean, maybe it's just me, but it feels like a lot of people were like expecting this feature, between Doechii and Tyler for so long, because I don't know, because I feel like as artists, they kind of look alike, the way they approach music, videos, and performance. And I think everybody was like, "Oh, when these two are going to perform or do something together?" And it was in a track in a Louis Vuitton runaway. So it was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that at all, and it was pretty cool. It sounds really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember like interviews from Tyler from a year ago, maybe even longer, of him saying how much he likes Doechii and how much he wants to work with her and stuff like that. So it was inevitable that it was going to happen eventually. I very much imagine that they've done the track and Pharrell's just kind of thought, actually, that really fits into like, you know, the ethos and the sound of the runway show. And he's probably asked if he can use it. And again, it helps, you know, from a marketing perspective, it helps build up the anticipation for it coming out, and it gets lots of press. You know, I've seen loads of posts about it today on Instagram and stuff like that about this, you know, new track that was, you know, premiered at the LV show. So it helps all of them.
Yeah, true. And I mean, I think he's right to say that Louis Vuitton has a lot of money to pay those artists. So I think it was easy.
And then also I noticed we had a kind of remix of the Clipse's So Be It, and we'll get to that a little bit more in a while. I think it was listed as So Be It Part 2. It was listed as So Be It Part 2. So I don't know if we will get like, you know, a proper remix version of this or an extended version in the way that the orchestra, that's the word I was looking for, orchestra. The way the orchestra
Okay.
played it, yes, on their sheet music, it was listed as So Be It Part 2. So I would like to see that, an extended version with an orchestra playing it. Very interesting, I think that would be. And then we had some almost random kind of banging Punjabi track
Yeah,
that he came out with that kind of came on towards the end of the show.
yeah, super random.
It sounded, when it first came on, it sounded very much like an artist from about 20 odd years ago, Jarby MC. I don't know if you've heard of him. I'll try and find a
No
link
idea.
and put it in the show notes. I think he's a UK guy, and he had like quite a big hit many years ago. In the start of it sounded like that, and I thought, are they playing this Punjabi MC track? That's really weird. And obviously, it turned into something different. But again, yeah, interesting to kind of see that. Again, maybe a nod to the kind of Indian and Asian people that, you know, he's kind of worked with in the kind of collaboration and creating the show and things like that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then at this show, we've also seen.
Just one thing.
Oh, go on, yes.
Sorry. No, it makes me think about it might be like because I was hearing the Clipse tracks, and of course we noticed that in one of them, like it has like Indian music samples on it. So it might be from there, just Pharrell digging up Indian music and all that, and making some odd or some reference to it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll get to the Clipse tracks in a moment, but yeah, as you say, there's a fairly heavy. I don't know if it is Indian or Middle Eastern or what it might be, the actual sample.
Oh
I
yeah,
know the
true.
name of the person, but I don't know where they're actually from. Yeah, he could well have been sort of playing around with all those different sounds, listening to lots of different samples and starting to create bits and pieces of his own. And again, put a beat out and just thought that'll fit in the show. That'll sound really good.
Yeah, true.
A couple of other sort of final bits of fashion news and things that we've seen at the LV show. New colorways of the Adidas Jellyfish that we've talked about, I don't know, every week for the last year or something. I still can't decide if I like these or not. I love the new colorway. So I love that colorway that Pharrell came out wearing at the end of the show, the kind of dark greys and blacks and yellows. The colors are great. The shoe looks good on him. And then we also saw both of the Clipse wearing Jellyfish as well in the days preceding the show. And again, they looked really great. They didn't look particularly too big or too chunky. But then I saw one video, which was the Clipse album listening party on, I think it was on the roof of LV a couple of nights ago. And you got the Clipse there and you got Pharrell there as well. And they're previewing the Kendrick verse, which again, we'll get to in a minute, on Whips and Chains. And Pharrell's wearing the white pair of Jellyfish. And they look absolutely massive. And it looks like he can hardly like lift his feet up because they're so big and
Yeah.
heavy. So I just really can't decide on these things.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like I like the shoes now more than, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. But I just think like just release it already. Like
This
it's
was
taking
supposed
so
to be,
long.
yeah, this was supposed to be the release. I think the Clipse were wearing them as part of a release thing. And also, around Paris, they had like an Adidas van going round saying like,
Yeah.
with the whole sort of Virginia thing on it and stuff like that. So it's meant to be some kind of activation. So I'm imagining they do get released this week or next week, perhaps. But yeah, like you say, it has been a very dragged out release, and I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, man. Like, because I remember like the first time that we saw it, like the internet saw it, the world saw it, everybody was like, "Oh man, it looks pretty cool." And I was one of the only ones to think like, "Yeah, it looks good," but if it was like 5 years ago, and they still haven't released the sneakers, man. So just put out already.
Let's see. Let's see when we get back from our summer holidays if they're actually out or not, and if I've bought a pair or not. All right. And
Do you know if the price is still the same? Because I remember they were saying like 250
I
something
think
like that.
they're still that. Yeah.
Jeez.
So yeah, they're going to be at the high end of the price range. And
Okay.
speaking of expensive sneakers, sweet Buttersofts.
Uh,
So a little bit more information for people. The Buttersofts will be out in the next couple of weeks. I was in London the week before last, and I went to one of the LV stores. It was the first day that they were doing the pre-orders for them. And I know some stores in Asia actually had some in store, kind of on display for you to look at and then do the pre-orders. So I went into one of the LV stores in London to see if they had any. Unfortunately, they didn't have any in the store, but the kind lady showed me an internal document with all of the kind of colorways and prices and stuff like that. So if you are interested in some Buttersofts, firstly, there's going to be a number of like different waves of releases. So there's this first one, then maybe in the next sort of month or two, or for the next season, there'll be like another set of releases, another set of colorways, and they may do a few of those. But essentially what's going to happen is there's going to be roughly 10 pairs available in store to the general public. There'll be the basic colorways. So the basic brown monogram version, the kind of pale green that we've seen, the cream color, the light blue color, all the very basic colorways. They're going to be available in store to anybody who wants to buy a pair. I believe those are going to have a slightly lower cost. Those are going to be 900 euros, I think. I think the price was in euros that I saw, either £900 or 900 euros. Then you've got two separate sets of kind of special editions, I guess you call them. So there's one set, think of maybe 8 colorways, which are only available to people who have previously purchased a P9 Speedy bag. So you have to have a Speedy bag in your account history to be able to purchase one of these other colorways. And those are the nicer
okay.
colorways. They're like the slightly brighter blue, the yellows and things, and just the more attractive colors, basically. But you have to have purchased a P9 Speedy bag. The lovely woman at LV did say to me, "Do you have a P9 Speedy bag?" And I said, "No, unfortunately, I'm not that wealthy." To which she said, "Oh, but it's okay. They start at a very affordable and reasonable price of £8,000. And at that point, I thought, myself and you have a very different definition of what affordable and reasonable is. So I
Yes.
said, no,
Damn.
thank you. And then there's going to be like a third set as well, which is all going to be locale specific. So again, I think there was about 8 or 9 pairs. I think 2 of them were China exclusives. I think there was a Thailand exclusive, a Singapore exclusive, a USA exclusive, and I think 2 European exclusives, but I think they're limited to Paris and to Milan. So again, they're completely different colorways, and you'll only be able to get them at those specific stores in those specific locations. So there's about 25 or 30 pairs about to come out with different colorways, different patterns, different designs. But yeah, only about 10 or 12 of them will be available to the general public. So yeah, you're either going to need to have a P9 Speedy bag or live in one of those locations to get one of the slightly nicer colors. And also the Speedy bag collection and the locale specific collection, they're all 1,500. So they're like 66% more expensive than the standard version.
Yeah.
I have no idea why. I don't know if they're using different materials, different types of leather, stuff like that. Obviously, they're going to be way more exclusive and there's going to be very limited numbers. I don't think that alone justifies such a massive jump in price. So I can only assume that you maybe get slightly different materials with them. But
Yeah.
when they release in stores, I will head to my local store and I will ask a few questions and try and find out.
Do it.
Indeed, I will. And I will resist buying a pair.
Please don't.
I'll try a pair on at least, but I certainly don't see myself buying a pair.
Don't do it.
No.
This is where the devil is hiding. Like when you try them on,
Inside the
man.
shoe, yeah.
Yeah.
Pull me in by my toes. Yeah. Let's see. But I don't envisage myself buying a pair. All right, let's get on to the main topic of this podcast, the Clipse. We have
Do
been
it.
talking about the goddamn Clipse for over a year now, I think, and this album.
Jesus.
And when we recorded the last episode, they had just kind of broken the news, maybe a couple of days before, that the Clipse had gone and signed with Rock Nation. They'd left their Def Jam deal. They'd gone to Rock Nation. And we were speculating. We were saying, oh, what's this about? Did they have problems at Def Jam? And what could it be? Literally the day after we recorded, they did a load of interviews and they released the first single and said, here's the date for the album. So thanks for that, Clipse people. But yes, it turns out the speculation that we were talking about was correct. They did have issues at Def Jam. It turns out that Def Jam had issues with the Kendrick verse that is going to be on the final version of Whips and Chains, obviously because of the ongoing legal issues with Drake, and they wanted the Kendrick verse removed, to which the Clipse said no. I did then just also see a brand new interview just before we started recording this, where Pusha was talking about they have like a lyrics committee at Def Jam who like review all the lyrics of every track of every album, and they had already said no to removing the Kendrick thing. So the lyrics committee then went about trying to find other problems. And I think it's in the same song, Pusha uses the phrase trump card. Now that's just a normal phrase, but the lyric committee highlighted it and said, you can't say that, you've got to take that out. We've got to pull the track because we don't want problems with Donald Trump. I think that was, from what I saw in the interview, that was the final straw for them. And they were like, no, we're out, thank you. I think also the day after we recorded, I think Steve and Victor did an interview as well around some of this. And he says that Pusha and Mal paid out of their own pocket. And he says out of their own pocket. I don't know if Rock Nation stumped up a little bit of this, but they paid a minimum of 8 figures to get out of the Def Jam deal. So that's a minimum of $10 million at least to get out of that Def Jam deal. So I'm assuming Rock Nation probably, paid for part of that. But I know Pusha did say that, yes, I paid it. And he said like, oh, it's only money. I don't really care. Like, we didn't want to be in the deal. We wanted to get out of it. So I just paid it, But that's a lot of money to get out of a deal that you were only in for 3 months, maybe 5 months, something like that.
Yeah.
But that shows how awful it must have been at Def Jam and how much they just want to just go, I'll just pay 10 million. Just get me out of here.
Yeah. And for me, the worst thing is Def Jam, Like it's supposed to be the hip hop label, the rap label that it should be, and just to see Def Jam doing this, making these games, having a lyric department to review lyrics, rap lyrics. Are you insane? Especially for hip hop, like where the artist has to be like I don't know, has to be the freedom to speak whatever he wants. So he can say, I don't know, like I killed someone and I shot someone on the chest and I robbed someone, but he cannot diss Drake or say something about Trump. Are you insane? That's ridiculous, man.
And annoyingly, supposedly, from the little bits that have leaked from that listening party of the Kendrick verse, there's not any actual Drake diss in there. There's nothing specific at Drake, but it's just Def Jam just wanting to avoid any legal issues whatsoever and getting dragged into any legal issues. And then, again, I don't know what context the phrase trump card was used, but again, that's just a normal saying. It's a normal phrase that's been around for years and years and years and years. So to kind of take that into then, sort of say, oh, well, somebody from Donald Trump's camp might, misinterpret it or take it the wrong way or anything. Just ridiculous. Yeah. It's just, at that point, you're just kind of making stuff up because you're just desperate to pull the track for, whatever stupid reason you can think of.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is it. I think it's an excuse. I think at the end of the day, it feels like Def Jam just didn't want the Clipse and Kendrick together on a track. I think this is the issue because, of course, it's going to be a track that everybody's going to pay attention. And if they did, Clipse or Kendrick did this someone, but it was not Drake, everybody we would think it is Drake. Yeah. And so, but I just feel like so, I don't know, disappointed with Def Jam, man. Like, wow, you guys did that. Like,
Yeah, I will
so lame.
quote Pusha here from a recent interview: "Idiots." Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
100%.
Pusha. Pusha was asked about what he thinks about Def Jam and about the situation, and he said they're idiots. And like,
Yeah,
if you're Def Jam, like this is one of the hottest, most anticipated albums in recent years. It's
yeah,
gonna sell and be streamed massive amounts. And you're sat there with a lyric committee trying to like get songs pulled off of it and mess them around after they've just sort of signed only a few months before. And it seems like madness.
yeah, true, man. Exactly. Like, it makes you think about the word deaf. Like, I think you guys are really deaf about this jam right here, you know?
Yeah,
Pun
tone deaf.
intended. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But
And it's sad.
it is very, yes. But speaking of the album is coming. We've got
Yes.
an official date, July the
Let's go, man.
11th. I'm just back from my holiday then. I don't think I've got any plans that week. So hopefully the sun will be shining. So I'm just going to have that on repeat over and
Yeah,
over again. So we have had 2 tracks from the album already. 3 if you include Whips and Chains, but that was never kind of officially released. It was at an LV show and we've just heard bits and pieces of it. So the first track we had was Ace Trumpets. We didn't get a full video for this, but there is like an official lyric video available on YouTube, which has got various images and video clips that kind of play along to kind of certain words in the song and then kind of, repeat throughout. I would say this isn't, I found it a strange one to release first because it's not the catchiest of songs, but it really goes hard. I still really like it.
no,
And the 808 in it is just banging.
no, man. I haven't feel, I don't know, excited about music for a very long time as I am about this, man. And I mean, they are rapping their ass off, man. The flow is ridiculous, both of them.
Yep.
And right now, because I don't know, my ears can change tomorrow, but right now, like Malice or no Malice, however he's want to be called right now. Wow, what a way to come out of retirement, you know? Like, wow, man.
I
His
think
flow is ridiculous, man.
what we've heard so far on these kind of 2 tracks, I think is some of Malice's best work.
Man, 100%.
He's always been amazing. We all know that, like, lyrically and
Yeah,
everything, and with his weird and wonderful flows at times as well. But like both of these guys for this album, even Pusha, they just seem so focused and so just on it. And you can just tell that
exactly.
so much has gone into like the rhyme patterns and the rhyme schemes and tallying everything up and making everything sort of just perfect lyrically. You can really, really tell, and it really stands out, especially in these 2 tracks that have come out, Ace Trumpets and So Be It. It just, yeah, amazing so far. Really good.
Yeah, true. And I feel like when I was hearing like this week the tracks, I feel the word that you say like Pusha feels like he's so focused. It's like I feel when I was hearing the tracks, I'm so excited, sorry. But when I was hearing the tracks, I feel like on his previous solo work, he was making a lot of reference to the Joker. So he was like this crazy killer. And right now, he's like a stone cold killer. Like he's focused, cold. Like he's not going to let you get away with anything. Like he's going to kill you right now.
And
It's
we
so exciting to hear, man.
and we see that or hear that, I should say, in So Be It, which we'll get to in a minute for sure. There's a lot to talk about with that one. But yeah, with Ace Trumpet, so in my notes, I've got just a few in here. We're not going to go through and dissect every lyric or anything like that. This is just our
Yeah, no.
initial thoughts. But yeah, I've got here like Push and Mal using the same like rhyming pattern in their verses, as well as like just even tying up the same sort of rhyming vowels at the end of each bar and stuff. It's just, yeah, so perfected. But there is a but. the first line in Ace Trumpets, yellow diamonds look like pee-pee. I was like, really? I get it. I get the imagery of it and stuff, but, you know, a slightly questionable line, I think. Even the brilliance of the Clipse can, I think, have the occasional
Yeah.
questionable line.
But it grown on me, especially because I was like trying to find out other meanings, and it's probably has more meaning. I don't think Pusha will give us just a silly line like that.
Well, I think it is. Honestly.
No, I also think it is, but it has to be, man, because also just thinking about the silly, the word silly, I feel like it's also just him saying, I don't know, my taste level is so silly because I'm going to give you this silly line right here. I'm going to compare this diamond with PP. But I was looking at like diamonds categories, and I find out that PP can also be P1, P2, or P3. So it's a clarification class, like a diamond clarification class. So the more number you have of P's, the better the diamond. So there it is.
You have fucking gone down the rabbit hole. This is bullshit.
It is not, man. Don't underestimate Pusha T, man.
Oh god, I'm gonna have to send some messages to some people later on and see if they
Yeah.
can reach out to him and see if there was anything more in that line. But I really don't think there is. I just think it's just him saying, "Look how yellow my diamonds are," basically.
Yeah, but also it's also to get people by surprise, you know. So I'm going to give you this silly line, and then I'm going to come hard as I can, and he
then just
did.
kill it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess we should also just mention what Ace Trumpets is as well, because I think I've seen comments online of people being very confused about what that is.
I was.
Ace Trumpets, it's the super magnum bottle of Ace of Spades champagne. So, you know, the really, really big ones that take like someone to carry it like that you get in like, you know, fancy restaurants or clubs or whatever. It's referred to as an Ace Trumpet, and that's what it's
Nice.
that's what it's referring to. And obviously there's, you know, Rose Mo as well, you know, so rosé Moet champagne.
Yeah.
Just for those who weren't sure, champagne references, because that is the Clipse lifestyle in this album.
Yeah.
A couple of lines that I did like in there that I just wanted to kind of pick out. White glove service with the brick. I am Luigi. Sold ecstasy and disappeared. I am Houdini.
Incredible, man.
And
incredible.
I love the fact that
Jesus.
The second part of that, the sold ecstasy and disappeared. I am Houdini. Complete double meaning. Disappear like Houdini the magician, but then the guy that was in Houdini the group was called Ecstasy.
Yeah.
So just like so many levels, just
man. But for me, like it makes it better, of course, like those two lines together. But white glove service with the brick, I'm Luigi. Man, I was thinking about this line, and I probably can write like 10 pages of an essay just talking about this line. Because of course, for me, it was the first line that grabbed my attention because of course he's saying like I am Luigi. So like the reference to Mario Brothers like is super like on the on my face, on our face. But when you dissect everything that he's trying to say, like, oh my god, man, this man is.
I tell you what, white glove
Yes.
service with the brick. I am Luigi. That needs to go on a t-shirt design somewhere.
Yeah.
You need to come up with an image of some kind, and that
true.
line, that little bar needs to go underneath it.
Yeah, man. True.
Yeah.
Insane, man.
And during this track, we've also got some supposed shots at Kanye. And Kanye has come up a lot in the interviews of the last week as well, with Pusha saying, like, doesn't have anything to do with him anymore, never really got on with him, doesn't kind of like him. They're just completely different people, and he's kind of done with all of that. So some supposed shots at Ye here. You know, Yeezy is mentioned specifically, and I think they're talking about delays and things like that around Yeezy products and Yeezy music and stuff like that. So yeah, they're not on best terms either. And then a couple of other lines, or a few other quick lines, very short ones. Never leaving home without my peace. I am Mahatma. Obviously Mahatma Gandhi, and peace, obviously two different types of peace there. Drugs killed my teen spirit. Welcome to Nirvana. Another good little one.
It's a good one.
And then one that I really like, that made me laugh. Dressed in House of Gucci, made from selling Lady Gaga. Just like the whitest of white.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
Very good one.
some really good little bars and stuff in there and really good lines.
One thing that I didn't dislike, it's just, let me just explain. Like when Pusha say Wi-Fi, and it's a pretty cool line also. I read that a lot of people were talking about it, and it is something that I'm being roasting and bullying the Spanish for so long, because every time they say Wi-Fi, I laugh. But man, why you guys still saying like this? And I just feel like Push is like, just, I don't know, validating it, and it's not cool, man.
No, I've got a slightly different take on that I haven't seen anyone mention so far. So if you go on like Genius, for example, and you look at the annotations and the notes to this, it says a similar thing. It says like he's pronouncing it Wi-Fi because, like, you know, he's in Paris and they kind of pronounce
Yeah.
Wi-Fi like that. They do here in Finland as well. It's, I think, across a lot of Europe, it's kind of pronounced, you know, the I is pronounced as kind of like an E sound, so it's Wi-Fi. But also in the US, there is a Wi-Fi service on one of the carriers. I can't remember which carrier it is, and it's called Wi-Fi. It's called WEEFEY, and it is actually called Wi-Fi. So I think it's kind of a
Okay.
play on the both of them. I think it's him
Okay.
saying it
Okay.
like because he's in a foreign country, he's traveling the world, but also, you know, he's in the sky, he's on planes, he's actually
Yeah.
using a
Another
service
level.
called Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
So I think, yeah, it kind of has that sort of double meaning to it.
No, of course, of course. I like the line. I'm not gonna lie. It's just because I am bullying the Spanish for so long because they say Wi-Fi, and now Push is just validating the word. Like, oh man, shit, Pusha.
Yeah, but like when if you carry on bullying all the people of Spain and the rest of Europe for saying it like that, if they come back and they say, yeah, but Push is saying it in the song now. Push, you can go, oh well, actually no, it's Wi-Fi. It's an American Wi-Fi service in a plane. Actually, it's actually something very different. You can get around it like that. See,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, noted.
Rafa takes on Europe. Good luck.
Yeah.
And shall we get to So Be It, the latest single, which has just come out? So this dropped what, a week ago maybe or something. We do have a proper video for this, directed by Hanan Hussein, who hilariously his last really big piece of work was with Travis Scott. And he's also worked on a lot of the Cactus Jack promotion stuff with Jordan Brand. Now I
Wow.
don't know if that's purposely done. I would imagine it probably is, knowing Pusha and
Yeah.
knowing Mal. But yes,
Patty.
if you go back and look at Hanan Hussein's Instagram, his latest post is this video, and the one next to it from about 3 months ago is a Travis Scott project. So interesting to see that, and I very much imagine that was done on purpose, just out of absolute spite.
Yeah, man, so good. And it makes me think about how when this song came out, one of the things that I thought about was like, oh, it's so cool to see Pusha and Malice giving us like grown-ups lines, like they are men, they are adults, and they are dissing kids, because I feel like, okay, Drake did all the things, the great things that he did, and Travis also, like, they are huge, huge artists, but you can see that in their private lives, they are just kids, playing around. And you see Pusha and Malice and the way they portray themselves on the music and on the interview, like they are adults, they are grown up men. So just to see, and when you say things like, "Oh, they are being petty because they brought the same artist," like, oh man, there it goes, the other thing that I was thinking about them. Like they can be kids also, they can be petty also,
And they can still fuck with
and it's,
people, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think I've got a note here as well. Like, I think this video would have been shot like 2 or 3 months ago as well. So that would have been around the time that Travis Scott project was coming out, I think. So it sort of ties in quite nicely. And I think it was shot a few months ago because in a couple of the shots in the video, you can see Pusha wearing a pair of Adidas Predator sneakers, which we've seen him wearing while in the studio sessions at LV with Pharrell a few months back. So that sort of timeline fits in. So I'm guessing this video was shot probably with the intention of it being released on Def Jam, and it was ready for that. And obviously they've carried it over to Rock Nation. So yes, I would have thought they would have had that in mind, because I don't think there's any way that they don't know this guy hasn't worked with Travis. You know, they would have known who he was, they would have known what his resume is and who he's worked with. And he probably looked at him and went, he just did a massive thing with Travis Scott. Let's get him in because that'll be funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because if you think about all the things that Pusha is talking about Travis, is kind of the same thing, right? Like Travis is doing this, I don't know, playing both sides. So he brought an artist that he is going to do both sides also.
Yep, definitely.
Strategic, man. These guys are killers.
Yep. We'll get on to some more Travis Scott disses in a moment. I just want to mention the sample that we've kind of already briefly talked about. It's from a track called Maza Akulu by an artist called Talamada from 1970. Again, I'm not sure where the person is from, whether it's kind of Indian or
I
Middle
think it's
Eastern or
Arabic.
yeah, sort of Middle Eastern. Yeah,
Yeah. So
this is
sorry for whoever is hearing, like I say Indian, but it's
yeah.
Arabic. Yeah, yeah.
This is like a great sample used so well. It's so simplistic, and I'll put a link to Tracklib that did like the sample breakdown of it. But it is just a short sample, chopped up. Again, that really heavy like 808 behind it, and I think it's like a reversed 808 as well. It's got that weird sort of tail on it, which makes it sound reversed. And again, it's so simplistic, but it comes together so well.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, man. And 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 I know that Pharrell wasn't probably like trying to make us feel nostalgic, and I don't think at all the instrumental uh is nothing compared to the instrumentals that we have from Hell Had No Fury, but just the feeling, you know? And I heard
It's
Pusha
dark.
talking about, yeah, 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 exactly. Like they are talking about how Pharrell is always trying to make them feel something. Like it's the feeling more than anything else. So the feeling of the instrumental, it feels like the way they were feeling on Hell Have No Fury. They were angry, but they were like cold, you know, like talking straight to us. This is the feeling that I have from this instrument and from the sample also.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's similar to the to Ace Trumpets as well. You know, if you just the instrumental, it's quite a sort of dark, bass heavy type track. It's not a, as I mentioned earlier, it's not a catchy beat
Yeah,
or anything. There's no kind of catchy hook to it or anything like that, or bridge or whatever. It's just a straight up solid beat, basically. And I'm looking forward to seeing if there's more of that in the album. Obviously, we've heard Whips and Chains and bits of that. That's very similar, although it's a bit more layered and it sounds like there's a little bit more to it. So I'm really intrigued to see how this kind of pans out across the whole album, the 10 or 12 tracks or whatever it is we get.
yeah, true. And actually, this instrumental kind of surprised me because we don't hear Pharrell sampling so much, but every time he does, it's super special, man.
He always does it
That's
very well,
awesome.
yes.
Yeah, and I think the last time I mean, Pharrell that sampled something for the Clipse was in, what is the name of the track? I think it's one track for their first album, the exclusive. What is the name of the
Exclusive audio
project?
footage.
Yeah, I think it's something Cairo, something like that. The name
Yeah,
of the track, remember?
yeah.
So it's kind of like you have a kind of Arabic or Indian type of sample, right? So it's been a while. So it was cool to hear this, man.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the video, which I really like. Again, shot in sort of black and white, a very dark video, not in terms of the color, but in terms of just the way it's kind of presented a lot of it. I
Yeah,
love the initial car shot of Malice driving and then Pusher in the window because it exactly replicates, apart from Jesus in the back, exactly
yeah,
replicates the image from the Lord Willing cover.
yeah,
We
man.
know that's an actual thing because I've seen Pusher repost people pointing it out. So it must be a thing they
Yeah,
did on purpose. So I love that little nod to like the OG album. Like they're going back to their roots, back to kind of real hip hop in terms of the album and the video and everything. So that was really good to
yeah,
see.
yeah, and also bringing calls to do the merge. So it was kind of like a nod also to the previous work together. And thank God they did that because all this, I don't know, this thing with Pharrell not trying to look back, not trying to be nostalgic. So just the Clipse giving us these little gifts, like these little nostalgic gifts. Like, thank God, man, just give it something for us because we like that.
Yeah. And then one thing I did notice about the kind of start of the video and that bit in particular where they're in the car and Pusha's kind of rapping. I guess it's the first verse, but it's more like an intro because it's very short. He's wearing like a gold grill. And it looks, if you actually look at the video closely, it looks so awkward. I never noticed it until today when I was watching it sort of very closely on the screen in front of me. But it doesn't look like it fits him particularly well. And then he'll do a line and then he's like licking his lips because obviously it's so
Yeah,
dry having it there over his teeth. And it looks really awkward if you pay attention to it. That just stood out to me. And I'm surprised they kind of kept that part in. I'm surprised they didn't sort of say, okay, now do it without the grill and let's kind of see how it works. And it would probably be a bit more natural and not quite so awkward, but yeah.
yeah, true. One thing I think is silly of me just for liking this, but just hearing Malice saying ski, it was like, oh man, he's back. Because like because he said like, oh, one of the reasons that the Clipse it was over for me, it was because I was really, I don't know, in a spiritual level, so I was like regretting everything that I did and everything that I was saying on my music. So just to hear him like saying ski at the end of his verse, I was like, oh man, okay, he's really back. He's no Malice anymore. He's just Malice. So give us something. Yes.
He's still not swearing, but there is the occasional drug reference.
Yeah, exactly.
That's enough. We'll live with that. That's enough. Yes.
Exactly. No, even in the video, he said when he
Yeah.
says ski, he does like this. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
Back to the drug talk. Yes. What I did notice in this is you've kind of got this first verse or intro. You've then got a Pusher verse, then one Malice verse, and then you've got this kind of fourth verse or outro, again, because it's quite short, which Pusher does. So minimal stuff from Malice here, but I feel that Malice is probably the best out of everything on this track. And also it makes me wonder, did Malice maybe originally have that fourth verse or that outro part, but then they kind of stripped it because Pusher was just like, fuck it, I need to like say something here.
Yeah.
Again, if anyone knows any behind the scenes stuff, and if another version comes out at some point, please do get in touch because I'd love to know that and see what the sort of makeup of that track was originally. But it very much sounds like, or I would expect Malice to be on that last one, but they were just like,
Yeah.
no, we need to say something, and Pusher's like, I've got it, just let me on there.
Yeah. And one thing that I would like to say about what is saying in this track and the direct diss at Travis Scott is like the things that he's saying on the music on this song particularly is different from the things that he's saying on the interviews. And I think the things that he's saying on the interviews is better and is more of an attack than the things that he's saying on the song. So one thing that made me think was first, okay, why? Like, why you calling this man a whore in interviews, and why you haven't done on the song? And the response that I gave myself was like, oh, maybe it's all this thing with Def Jam because they were like low key, not even low key, but they were straight up trying to censor the music. So maybe he decided to take it easy on the music because like, I don't want to be censored anymore. And when he's doing these interviews, like he's saying like he's calling this man a whore on the interviews, like, wow. So why you going harder on the interview and not on the song? On the
Yeah.
song will be amazing.
I get the feeling that in the track he just wanted to kind of just do it in a pure hip hop way. So not name him
Yeah,
directly, but kind of, he used the word utopia and he alludes to kind of Kendall Jenner. Is it Kendall Jenner or Kylie Jenner? Which one is it?
I
Don't
have
know.
no idea. I think it's yeah.
One of those dipsticks, yeah. He kind of alludes to her who was dating Travis at the time and broke up with him. And I think since they recorded it, he's probably just seen Travis doing more of the same stuff and maybe
Yeah.
even, it getting even worse. And now they've got to this point where Rock Nation have probably said, yeah, we'll back you. You say what you want on tracks. You can say what you want in interviews. Go for it. I think he's just thought, fuck it. I'm just going to say it. Just going to go for it.
Yeah, true.
Because, he's getting asked in a lot of these interviews, direct questions about Travis Scott and about what he thinks about him, which normally you wouldn't do. Normally you'd have it in the song. And then when you do your press and your promotion stuff, you'd say, like, your PR person would say, don't ask about Travis Scott, or you can, but they're not really going to give you a proper answer. They're just going to kind of keep it low key. But like you say, he sat there in interviews calling him a whore and just calling him out completely and saying, he's like, Travis Scott, he's not on our level. We don't care about him. We don't want anything to do with him. He's embarrassing, he called him. I think he called him cringeworthy. He said about the, Travis coming to Paris
the
and
mocking dance,
having the Utopia back briefcase. And he was like, oh, it's cringe. So they're really coming for him.
Yeah,
and it's
man,
great to see.
100%.
It's proper old school hip hop. And that's what I love about, we've got it later in the notes, but it's what I love about this whole album rollout. It's so old school and it's so good.
Yeah, exactly. True. I haven't thought about how old school this feels.
Yeah, all these like radio interviews. And I know they're doing some podcast bits as well. But yeah, they're on like Funk Flex and radio shows like that, like they used to back in the day, like artists would do back in the day. They're doing these kind of, these merch drops in these collaborations, and it's just, it feels very like old school, and I'm here for it because it's working brilliantly at the moment.
Yeah, true. They are using the internet pretty well, and it's also, and I feel like it's a gift for us, for how they call us, Clipsters, right?
Do they? Oh God.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you remember, but especially on the second album, they were like, oh, we were trying to promote the album, and we were doing the mixtapes, but the mixtapes were not on the street, they were on the internet, and it was all these white hipsters hearing our music, consuming our songs, and we were starting to do the concerts, the shows, that we started to see all these guys, and Pusha didn't understand, like, oh man, what we doing? And one of the marketing staff members, they were like, no, they are on the internet. They are all these guys on the forum are talking about your music. So they are starting to, instead of calling at hipsters, they started to call us clipsters. Yeah, man. It has to be your next tattoo. I'm a clipster.
We have to do away with calling fans weird nicknames, which all artists now seem to do. Or what makes me really cringe, we've already mentioned Lady Gaga. My fans are little monsters. Just don't. Oh, it's terrible. Stop giving fans weird nicknames. And then stop,
Yes, I agree.
combining names of two people together as well. Kim and Kanye, Kimye. Fuck off. Oh, don't. Stop it.
Yeah,
These things
horrible,
must
man.
stop. Anyway, back to the video. There's a couple of things I want to mention before we go off track.
Yeah,
Another shot that I love in the video, we see it twice with them kind of reversed, and that's where you've got a Pusher or Malice at the kind of front of the shot, and then you've got like the building behind them with like the shadow of the other person being kind of projected onto it. Such a good image for some reason. I really love those shots. Looks so good. And again, it's kind of so dark. It's like the kind of shadow, not the soul, but it's like the other brother looking over one brother, and it's just a really, really interesting shot and really well executed there in the video a couple of times. And then a couple of lines that I really like. Well, one line that I like and one that we have to kind of mention is the one I like. If I'm not in the telly selling the Yeti, then I'm twirling your bitch like she in spaghetti. Heavy.
Oh, man.
Selling the
Yeti.
Yeti.
My favorite also. Yeah, man. Cold.
Just another
So
great
good,
line.
Man. It is, man. Love it.
And then we've got
the standout line.
Yes, very much so. And then we've got the Malice line, which none of us wanted to hear, but he put it out there, and I'm surprised it made it. Ain't no more Neptunes, so appease Saturn. Now, this has to have gone through Pharrell. I'm surprised they let that slide in there. Because it's not a diss to Chad or anything, and I'm sure it's not meant that way or anything.
It is not.
But like openly calling out that, like, there's no more Neptunes. Is that your? Have you got to wake up?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm keeping you past your bedtime.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
That's all right. Yeah, so just calling out the fact that there's no more Neptunes so publicly, I think to me that says like we truly are just done with them. Because I would have thought if that line was in there, Pharrell would have said, "Oh, maybe don't include that. Maybe like let's not focus on that. We don't want to bring attention to it." And obviously, there's still legal things ongoing at the moment, but you let it slide. It's gone through. It's on the track.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, from my perspective of seeing the relation that Pharrell has with Malice, I don't think Pharrell has so much, I don't know the word, but I don't think Pharrell has the same approach to Malice as he does with Pusha to say, maybe don't say it like that.
Yeah,
Because
perhaps.
because see pretty clearly that the relation that Pharrell has with Pusha is really, really tight instead of what we had, what we he.
Yeah, I would have thought he could probably
But I mean,
still say something, and Malice out of respect would maybe sort of take it out. But perhaps Pharrell heard it and was just like, "Yeah, okay, whatever, let it go."
yeah,
But it just
yeah,
surprises me. That's all.
yeah, and yeah, true. One friend of mine, he asked me, do you know why he used the this specific planet? That there's another reference. I like at the top of my mind, I couldn't say anything. But if you think about it, like Saturn is one of the most, I don't know, standout planets that we have. It's
Well,
all
yeah,
like
Saturn.
yellow, colorful with the rings, so you can be a reference with the jewelry and the way Pharrell shines. I don't know.
Yeah,
It can be a
I
lot
think
of
it's
things.
simpler than that. I think it's in Greek mythology, Saturn is the father of Neptune.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I think
that's
it's probably that. It's,
cool.
he's Neptune is no more, but Pharrell is kind of upper level. He's above the Neptunes
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
I
true.
think it's probably as simple as that.
Yeah,
And then just to also mention, we've been talking a lot about the sort of Travis disses and whatnot, but just maybe some background for people that aren't necessarily aware of kind of why it sort of came up in the first place and what kind of Pusha's big beef is. I'm guessing Pusha wasn't a fan of Travis anyway for a while. But one thing Pusha has mentioned in recent interviews is he didn't appreciate Travis kind of coming to Paris and then interrupting studio sessions that the Clipse had with Pharrell. And I think he says not just once, but multiple times, Travis kind of interrupted their session. And during one of those interruptions, Travis said he wanted to play them a new song, and the track was Meltdown, but it didn't have Drake's verse on it. And then obviously a number of weeks later, Travis put the track out. It had Drake's verse on it, and Drake's verse was obviously dissing Pusha and Pharrell. Now, from what Pusha says, Travis already had that Drake verse and knew it was going to go on there, but he decided like to not play it to Pharrell and Pusha while he was in the studio with them. So I think
mhm.
that kind of got his back up a little bit. And then, like I say, probably didn't particularly like him anyway. Didn't like him for interrupting all those sessions, and that's kind of where it's stemming from, basically.
Yeah, true. And I read some people talking about how Pusha is lying or Pusha is not well informed because with the timeline, people like Drake fans and Travis Scott fans they were saying no
Here we
because
go.
Drake did the verse after those visits. But even if it's that true, Travis should know better, you know?
Either way,
Like
yeah,
why you
you don't go
are
to Paris 1 week and play it for them, and then 2 weeks later put a fucking diss verse on there, do you?
exactly, exactly. That's the thing. Like that's people like trying to dismiss or trying to defend Travis. There's you cannot defend this. Like this guy is like two faces.
Yeah. I think that's what Push has sort of said a few times in these interviews. Yeah, he's two faced and he just kind of hops on sort of any trend that there is and jumps in with any artist that's hot at the time and doesn't really sort of have any loyalty to anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, I feel sorry for Travis because if this carries on, it's not a good place to be on the in the firing line in front of Pusha T and Malice.
Exactly.
All right, some other kind of news relating to the album which has come out recently. It seems that aside from the Kendrick verse, I've just noticed in my notes I've written Kendrick. Pretty sure that's not his name, Kendrick. And now I'm just sat here trying to correct it while I'm speaking. And we've also got a N.E.R.D feature. And we know we've got a N.E.R.D feature
Nice.
because LeBron James posted, I think accidentally leaked the sound playing at a listening party. And supposedly there's also a Jay-Z verse, which, we've been talking about for quite a while. So again, them moving to Rock Nation, them having Jay verses in the past and stuff, that it makes complete
Awesome.
sense. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, man, me too.
Apart from that, I don't think, or we haven't heard that there's any other features. So I think if you've got N.E.R.D, Kendrick, and Jay-Z on there, that's fairly solid. That tells me that the rest of the album that's just the clips is going to be really solid. You don't need to fill it up with people guesting and doing extra verses.
True. I mean, these 2 tracks that we got just prove it,
Yep, definitely.
right? And maybe we can mention also the rumors that I read that the Clipse are already done the Tiny Desk performance.
Yes, you mentioned that to me. I haven't heard anything about that. That would be really interesting.
Yeah,
Seeing a Tiny Desk performance with those two. It's not what I would expect them to do. But like I say, this kind of whole album rollout has been, they're everywhere basically. So
yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if they popped up doing something like that. Because, I wouldn't expect to see them on. There's a podcast they were on earlier today, some pop music podcast or something. I wouldn't expect to see them on there, but they're out there
yeah,
doing it. So they could well pop up. That would be really interesting if they did.
yeah. It was the forum member, I think it was Mavis that said that. I think everybody was having a conversation about the album rollout and all the things that Clipse is putting out. And I think it was Mavis, shout out to Mavis. He mentioned, I heard a rumor that they are doing a Tiny Desk performance. So I really hope that is true, man.
Yep. Looking forward to that if that is true. And
Yeah,
then, like we mentioned, the album will be out in a couple of weeks on the 11th of July. If you can't wait for the 11th of July and you want to start spending your money already, there's a bunch of Clipse merchandise out for this album. So
yeah,
there is the Cause version of the album. So in vinyl, CD, and then there's some t-shirts and stuff like that and box sets they're doing. I grabbed one of those. I grabbed the t-shirt box set with a CD. I don't know why they're boxing them with CDs, but they are. And then a vinyl separately. I thought, that's great. I've got exactly what I want. Then about 3 days later, they re-released everything, but with Verdi artwork. So
yeah,
the Verdi stuff I didn't get, although I really like the design and the packaging. I had just spent a load of money on the Cause version. So I thought, okay, I'll leave that. It's annoying, but fair enough.
yeah.
Then we saw the Clipse BBC collaboration come out with the t-shirts, which is absolute fire. So
Yes.
I had to go and get one of those t-shirts. So I've ordered one of those. I think they sold out within like a couple of hours, basically. I got on there straight
Yeah,
away,
it was pretty
luckily.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but after that, after it was sold out, how we say it?
They were
Like they
re-upped.
yeah, some units. Yeah, I received an email
Yep.
warning me about
I
that.
don't know if you'll be able to get any now. I haven't looked recently. If you're desperately after one, then I'm sure you can look online and people will be reselling them. But I grabbed one of those. And then in the last couple of days, maybe it was yesterday or today, annoyingly,
Yeah.
all of the Cause merchandise that we saw previously, all the records, of which one I purchased, they're now doing signed copies. And the signed copies are like $2 more than what the original copies were. So
Okay.
I'm slightly annoyed that I went in there on the first release and just copped a load of stuff because I didn't get the
Yeah.
Verdi stuff and I haven't got any of the signed stuff. I'm tempted to get a signed album, but the shipping is so ridiculous for one item that it's probably not worth it. But the price of the signed album, the signed vinyl, I think it's only 20 something dollars, maybe. It's not very expensive at all. But then if you're in
Yeah.
Europe, obviously it ships from the US, I think. So you're going to pay lots of postage and taxes and whatnot. So I've not grabbed anything extra so far, but let's see if I keep to that. Did you
Yeah.
manage to get any of the other merch bits?
Man, I want it, but as you know, I have to be responsible with my money because I'm going to be a father in a couple of months. So the BBC t-shirt was like, oh my God, but that one hurts, especially when I got the email like with the t-shirts back online, and I'm no like, no man, I have to be responsible. Maybe I don't know in a couple of years, like I buy from someone. And also, like, have you seen the new ones? The new ones designed by Denim Cheers, the new
Yes.
merch?
Yeah. So I didn't have that in the notes. I forgot about that. Yes. So an additional merch drop as well with some
Yeah,
like rugby shirts as well, weren't there? And it's got Clipse in like a Coca-Cola sort of font as well, which looks quite cool.
Exactly. Yeah, and it looks kind of like the same merch that they put out last year, right? With Carhartt,
Yeah,
with the same
similar.
fonts and everything. Yeah, that one, like the red hat, like oh, that one also was like, oh man, I wanted that so much because it makes so much sense to do the clips with the Coke logo font, man. It's like it's a perfect match.
Yeah, I was saying I love the rollout, but yeah, there's maybe too much merch because I want to buy all of it.
Oh yeah,
That's the
exactly.
problem. But yeah, I've limited
Yeah.
myself to a couple of t-shirts and a record. I think that's enough for the time being.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that I would like to say about the merch, the only thing that disappointed me a little bit is with the sets, like the sets with the t-shirt and the CDs, like they should have done at least one with the vinyls,
Yes, that annoyed me. That's why I had to
right?
buy the vinyl separately. I genuinely just
Yeah.
assumed where it said a box set, it was a t-shirt and a vinyl. So I literally added it to cart, went to the cart, went to check out, and it was only then that I just saw like in small writing that includes CD, and I was like, really? So I went back and checked it and read the description, and it was like, yeah, CD only. For
Yeah.
some weird reason, I don't know. So I had to add the vinyl to the cart as well separately. So yes, I also did find that annoying.
Yeah.
But apart from that, and apart from there being too much merch, it's all good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we are getting a lot of good content from it. So,
For sure.
yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. And I'm going to be honest because 2 years ago I saw the clips live and I was lucky enough to see them live. And from what I was standing there and I haven't seen so many. I just saw a few of us, a few of Clipse fans. So I was thinking, man, are they doing the right thing to try to put out an album together again after all these years? And these two tracks just prove it that yes, man, 100%. And it's so good to hear these guys rapping like this, so mature, so good. But it's not just so good, it's extremely good. It's insanely good.
Yeah. We should also mention, I completely forgot to add it to the show notes. With all of this, they have announced a tour as well. It is
Oh yeah,
a
true.
US tour initially. I would imagine they must be doing some European dates at some point. I haven't seen anything yet. I haven't heard any rumors yet. But if you're in the US, then yes, all those dates are out there. I want to say there's like 20 or 30 dates or something, maybe. Again, I'll try and put a link in the show notes to that. And yeah, hopefully at some point soon we hear about a European tour, and then we can live out the dream that we've had for many months where we all meet up somewhere in some random country and all go and see the
Yeah.
clips together.
Yeah, exactly. And I just really hope they are going to leave Europe to the next year because I'm having a child, man.
Yes, we need to work out the logistics of all of this, especially with
Man,
holidays and a new baby.
yeah, man.
What I'm
So
hoping,
I'm kind of scared actually about this.
we'll work it out. Don't worry. I've got your girlfriend's phone number. It'll be fine. We'll work it out.
Yeah, yeah, okay. You got my back.
Yes, exactly. But one thing I did think
Thanks,
of, I
man.
know we talked previously many months ago about like if they were going to do a tour, like we'd all try and meet up somewhere, maybe like Berlin seems really cool.
Yeah, man,
Duh,
100%.
no, Paris.
Ooh.
Special guest who lives in Paris. Come on, bring out
Yeah,
Skateboard P as a special guest.
yeah, man.
Come on,
Ooh.
it's got to happen.
Damn.
If they do Paris,
Yeah,
it's
man.
got to happen.
Damn, I haven't thought about this.
Yes.
Pretty smart, man. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So we need to think about that, and we need to keep our eye on, if and when they release some dates.
Yeah, true, true, true.
Yeah.
Wow. Good one, man. Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we wrap things up there then, I reckon? Because we've been going
Yeah,
quite a
man.
long time.
Yeah, man.
Cool. All right. So, yes, everybody listening, as I've previously said, head over to YouTube and Spotify for the video version of this podcast. If the video actually recorded and any of it works, let's hope it did. If you just want to listen to us normally in a podcast app of choice, you can continue to do that and you will still get all the chapters and chapter art and stuff like that. You can find us online by heading over to the others.net/about, and there you'll find all the links to our social media and stuff like that. But I am generally Steve R. Penny, and Rafa is Sneakartel.
Yes.
All right, that's been a great episode. Thank you so much, mates. And everyone listening, if you're still listening, we will hopefully see you again after the holidays in August. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.